DDP says he walks around 225 to 230 pounds, which is 40 to 45 pounds above the 185 pound limit. He has to make next week with 10 days to go. He says he's still far out from weight, but he never misses weight. Co-main event is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Pico looking to break into the top 10 in his UFC debut. If he can beat Murphy, also on the card, Neal versus Prates, number 11 and 12 in the welterweight division. You also got Cannonier versus Page in the middleweight division, number 8 and 15. And Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura kicked off the card. Flyweight contest number 11 and 15 at 125. Featured prelim is King Green versus Diego Ferreira. Before that is a middleweight contest between Meerschaert and Ola Sejic. Maybe a first round KO for Ola Sejic. If not, maybe a third round sub for Meerschaert. Artem Lobov says he still hasn't been paid the full amount for this fight in BKFC in 2019 against Paulie Malignaggi. BKFC owed him pay-per-view points, according to Artem, which equated to around $300,000. He never got that, and it's been 6 years, so he wants that. He had his legal team contact David Feldman. He hasn't gotten the money yet, but he feels like Feldman is a man of his word and will pay him eventually, even though he hasn't in 6 years. Connor's a part owner of BKFC, so he probably doesn't want to pay Artem, though.
Bare still owe me money. Oh. You know, my fight with Paulie Malignaggi, I never got my pay-per-view money.
What?
You know,
what do you mean?
Feldman announced that it made 200,000 pay-per-views, and you know, he told me first, look, you have to wait for the pay-per-view, you know, 8 months or whatever before we pay you. So I waited that. Then I was messaging. He was like, "Well, Artem, yeah, sorry, we just forgot. We're gonna pay you." Then I finally got my legal team to contact him, and what he said to my legal team was, "Look, we love Artem. You know, of course we're gonna pay him. Unfortunately, at this time, we're reinvesting all the money back into bare knuckle. We want to make it, you know, as big as possible. We're really riding a good wave, so we need to continue to reinvest. Once we're finally able to get some money out of it, of course, we're going to pay him." So I'm waiting for this. You know, I think, you know, Dave is a man of his word. I think he will pay me. It's about 300,000 that they owe me. It's not that big money, but it's pretty big. You know, once they settle that with me, of course, we can do a fight, no problem.
Sean O'Malley's teammate Tommy McMillan fighting in Dana White's Contender Series September 2nd. Both these guys are undefeated. Former UFC fighter Jesse Ronson fighting at BKB 46 on September 27. Sean Strickland doesn't like Khamzat Chimaev. When asked about him, he says Chimaev is just a effing C-word, he calls him. He notes that when Khamzat was training at Extreme Couture with him, he starched a one-on-one guy as opposed to training with high-level UFC fighters like Edmund Shabazian and stuff like that. And in Strickland's estimation, that makes Khamzat Chimaev a mentally weak man. But I guess you could say the same thing about Strickland because he was beating up influencers often. So maybe you can make the argument the other way as well. Some people note, same guy who brutalized Sneeko, talking about Strickland. Strickland, Khamzat subbed you many times. Translation, I couldn't bully Khamzat like I do with others. Others also note, Sean must have got smoked in training. Sean has nightmares about getting beat up in the gym. Strickland and Khamzat ain't fighting anytime soon unless Khamzat loses, because if he loses, they're right beside each other in the rankings. It's a fight they could make, Strickland versus Khamzat. Strickland 2 ahead of Khamzat number 3. But number 4 ranked Adesanya wants to fight Strickland next. But for Strickland, there's less motivation to take that fight. He already holds a win over Adesanya. Adesanya does not have a title, so there's not motivation to do that rematch. But for Adesanya, there is motivation to avenge that loss, and that's what he wants next. Khamzat Chimaev, after the DDP fight, has interest in going for a second belt, maybe going back down to 170 to fight Jack Della Maddalena, getting a belt there. The original plan was to get the welterweight title, but weight issues caused him to move up, apparently. And also, he says he could go up to 205 pounds and fight an Uncle Ivor Pereira and get that belt as well. He has to get one belt first, so he has to beat DDP. If that happens, I don't know. Like, guys talk about moving multiple weight classes and becoming champions in 3 weight classes before even getting the belt or defending it one time. At least get one title defense maybe under a belt before talking about a second one, but Khamzat has big aspirations still.
I work with the new coach, Carl. I talk about him, go down again, back to my first fights, you know, like 170 or 75, what was that? 170. He said it gives me a couple of months, we're gonna make it. So I don't know who is the champ there. This guy, Australian guy. Yeah, would be a good fight for me and go down fight with him as well. Yeah, could take the belt there. And if I go up and there is Uncle Io and his name Alex Pereira, they are fighting now. Who's winning? Can fight for that belt as well. Yeah.
Tickets for that card just went on sale. That's UFC 320, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2, Dvalishvili versus Sandhagen 1. 2 title fights, October 4th at the T-Mobile in Las Vegas, Nevada. Fight between DDP and Hamzat is in neutral territory, United States and Chicago specifically. DDP says he wanted to go into enemy territory, fight somewhere where Hamzat is the home crowd favorite, but the UFC decided to have the fight in Chicago.
I'm going to be super honest with you. Before this fight was made, I'm assuming the UFC got away for him, or his team, I don't know, somebody figured out that he can get into the US before announcing the fight for sure, and before letting me know that we are fighting. So my request was, I asked the UFC, and I begged them actually, I want to fight him either in Abu Dhabi, fight him in his neck of the woods, like I have been doing with so many other opponents. And I've grown quite fond of that. So that's what I want to do. I want to fight Abu Dhabi, Saudi, or any of that region, anywhere in that region, fighting there in front of his own crowd, his people. And they said they want to do Chicago. They let me know a couple of weeks later, okay, they're going to do Chicago. And I thought, well, great. It's a place I haven't seen. It's great. And for me, it really makes no difference where the fight is.
As far as how the fight goes, DDP doesn't specifically say how it's going to end, but he envisions him breaking Hamzat Chimaev in there, and the new training that Hamzat Chimaev is doing, whatever new stuff he's added to his training, DDP thinks that's all well and good, but it's too little too late. And for DDP, he says that he's been doing that stuff his entire life.
Hamzat, he looks incredible in training, what I've seen, and people talk about it. And if people are talking about, oh, he's training with this new coach, and I'm very happy for him. He did it 5 weeks out from the fight. I've been doing this my whole life. I've been fighting title fights for the past. I did it for 5-6 years into the UFC. Defended my belt twice already. The hard work that he's putting in, people going, oh, he's really training on. That's what I've been doing every single camp. Fight after fight after fight. That is, that's not new to me. The people are praising him for doing what is required. That's what I feel. And I'm really happy for him. And I think he's going to come in there more prepared than ever. I know that feeling of fighting for your first title. I know he's going to come in there prepared. No doubt, I think. And like I said, he is a special fighter. He's incredibly good. But, jeez, I can't wait. This win for me is going to be history. I am going out there and I'm going to shock the world once again. Like every other time, and everybody said, it's impossible. Not this guy, not this guy. And I'm going to go out there and you're going to see the boogeyman. You're going to see him break. You're going to see him break in there. And then realize there's only one boogeyman, and that's me. In the middleweight division, there can be only one boogeyman, and that will be me.